Naruto, Unlocking Genius with 10 Skill Bars. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 1. I have 10 skill bars. Konoha, 63 years. At the gate of the ninja school, looking at the comprehensive test list posted, Moonlight Shiyu saw his name in the 170th place, sighed silently, turned around and get out of the crowd, and walked towards home. She will be graduating in a few months, and Shiyu is very helpless now, saying that if she travels well, she can become a boss. But it has been the 12th year since I came to this world with all my plans. Same age as Naruto, even in the same class. But this time traveler myself is too ordinary, like ninjutsu, physical skills, and chakra. Everything is average. Apart from his appearance, he can compete with Sasuke, and there is nothing he can show. The only fortunate thing is that he is handsome, easy to attract attention, and he is familiar with the protagonist team. Even if the strength is not good in the future, it should not be difficult for Naruto, the future Hokage, to take care of himself a little bit. But it's hard to come here. Don't you regret living a mediocre life? Pity. Of course it's a pity, Shiyu doesn't want this. But what can be done about such a thing? Talent is not as good as life experience, and there is nothing outstanding. The Moonlight Clan, a small family of a dozen or so people, is nothing in Konoha. The most famous ninja in the clan is Moonlight Shiyu, who is now Konoha. White Fang should be considered as Shiyu's cousin according to seniority. Due to his mediocre talent, his cousin only met and said hello a few times. Go home. Shiyu's parents died during the Nine Tails Rebellion, and the rest of the Moonlight Clan took on the responsibility of taking care of Shiyu. In addition to helping Shiyu collect her parents' inheritance, she will pay Shiyu's living expenses every month, and even the money for the ninja school is also paid by several other members of the Moonlight Clan. Except for some money, the parents' inheritance is this house, with 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. It's not too big, but it's quite spacious for Shiyu living alone. Open the refrigerator and take out a can of soda. Puff. Cuckoo. After drinking most of the can in one gulp, Shiyu went straight back to the room and lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling in a daze. It seems that after graduation, I can only live my life as an ordinary genin doing nothing. God-level skill system activated. Hearing the inexplicable voice, Shiyu straightened up like a carp and sat up. I really have. System, waiting for you is so hard. 12 years, 12 full years. Do you know how I live? The smile on Shiyu's face when he was about to cry was very awkward. Hey. Don't be like this. Let me stop talking about you. Now Shiyu's every nerve is beating crazily. After waiting for 12 years, the system finally came, and something happened at this time. If the system is gone, Shiyu wants to die, trying to restart. Yes. Restart can solve 99% of the problems, it should be fine. Restart failed. System additional functions are damaged. System mall module is missing. The system task module is missing. System template module is missing. Lost. Are you kidding me? Anyway, let yourself take a look at what the complete system looks like. It's just a supplementary function, it's fine without it. As long as there is no problem with the core of the system, Shiyu clutched the bed sheet nervously, staring intently at the light curtain that suddenly appeared in his field of vision. The flashing wrong words on it made Shiyu's heart feel like he was on a roller coaster. System core module is missing. Mistake. It's over. The core module is gone, so there is no drama to sing. The GG system just appeared. This is too stretched. Is there a more shameful system than this? Checking. The only remaining module. The skill bar module. The skill bar module is 70% damaged, trying to start it. Skill column? What's the use of just giving a skill bar? And it's still damaged. Skill bar open. Currently there are 7 empty slots in the passive skill bar. 3 active skill columns. Detect the active skill bar. The core data of the skill is lost. Whether to repair it. Repair? It can be repaired, of course it is. In a good system, there is only 1 skill bar module left that can barely run. If this is not repaired, even the last skill bar will be gone. Collecting active skill column data. Active skill 1, gluttony. Effect, hot. Active skill 2, player. Effect, Kuenjin copy hot. Active skill 3, Daxian. Effect, hot. Good guy, just give yourself garbled codes. Can this still be fixed? The active skill bar is being repaired. The repair time is unknown. Go away. The repair time is unknown, and I don't know when I will be able to know what these 3 active skills are. What about the passive skill bar? Passive skill 1, empty. Passive skill 2, empty. Passive skill 3, empty. Passive skill 7, empty. Empty skill bar, nothing. The active skills are fine, but there are a bunch of garbled characters. What the hell is this passive skill? It's completely lost? Detect all passive skills are lost. Host can install passive skills by itself. Install it yourself? How to install? What is the use of installing passive skills? Skills mastered by the current host: chakra refining technique, school level gymnastics, clone technique, transformation technique, body replacement technique, basic kunai throwing technique, basic cooking, basic walking, basic jumping, basic language, basic mathematics, basic communication, basic eating, basic drinking. Shiyu, is this even counting food and drink as a skill for yourself? Does wiping your A** count? Advanced wiping skills. Roll. Why is wiping A** premium? Are you good at wiping your own A**? Shiyu looks helpless now. Why does the remaining skill column in this system look so unreliable? Maybe this is fate. Shiyu glanced at the first chakra refining technique that was regarded as a skill by the system. Click casually and throw it into the passive skill bar. Passive skill 1 installed successfully. Is this even installed? Any functions? Current passive skill 1, chakra refining technique. Effect: combining physical energy and spiritual energy to refine chakra. Running. Episode 2. Double the effect of overlapping skills. Run? This is up and running? Put it in and start right away? What chakra refining does not need too much explanation. The second class to enter the ninja school is about how to refine chakra. Although everyone has chakra in theory, ordinary people cannot extract chakra. Only those who are gifted, that is, those who have a certain talent in chakra, can combine physical energy and spiritual energy to extract chakra. For 6 years, Shiyu continued to refine chakra day and night, but the talents and qualifications are limited, and the current Shiyu chakra is only in the last echelon in the ninja school. In terms of the amount of chakra, there is still a long way to go to meet the requirements of genin. It is not possible to refine chakra 24 hours a day. Both physical energy and mental energy need to be restored, and often after several times of refining, it is impossible to continue to need a certain amount of recovery time. Different people, different talents, can extract different quality of chakra every day. But no matter what kind of genius it is, there are limits to how much physical energy and mental energy can be consumed. Once the limit is reached, chakra can no longer be refined. Perhaps it is the body's self-protection mechanism. If you continue to forcibly refine chakra, you will faint. Even in the end, not only did chakra not be extracted, but the original chakra would dissipate. And Shiyu can now refine chakra 3 times a day, and after the 4th refinement, he will faint and faint. The teacher of the ninja school also explained that as the body grows stronger and the spirit increases in the future, the number of times to refine chakra will also increase. The amount of chakra will also increase slowly, but people from the Uzumaki family like Naruto, who refine chakra or something, are simply cheating. It is conservatively estimated that Naruto can complete hundreds of refinements in a day even if it is the first refinement of chakra. This is the gap between geniuses and ordinary people. There is simply no way to go beyond. Passive skill 1, chakra refining, complete 1 time. When the voice sounded, Shiyu froze for a moment. Suddenly, I felt a warm current surging in my body. This feeling is all too familiar to Shiyu. He feels it 3 times a day. This is the feeling of refining the chakra and increasing the amount of chakra. Completing a refinement is nothing more than adding a touch of chakra, and the chakra flow in Shiyu's body is only about the size of a little finger. This is the chakra that has been refined in 6 years. Such a weak chakra passive doesn't even meet genin standards. According to Shiyu's own understanding, the amount of chakra in genin should at least be bigger. Only in this way can it barely reach genin's chakra volume standard. Carefully feel the chakra that just increased in the body, although it is only a trace of chakra. But Shiyu feels that this trace of chakra seems to be refined perfectly. This kind of chakra can only achieve the best effect when Shiyu is in a full state and devotes himself to refining. And this passive skill column seems to have directly allowed Shiyu to complete a chakra refinement in his own best state. And he doesn't need to control it himself. And after completing chakra refining, the physical energy and mental energy in the body will not be consumed at all. This is increasing chakra volume out of thin air. Passive skill 1, chakra refining, complete 1 time. While Shiyu was surprised, chakra added another touch. This time, Shiyu had a surprised look on his face. Another increase. Just completed 2 chakra refinements in about 10 minutes? Is this the effect of the passive skill bar? This is too pervert. Refining chakra is fine, and there is no consumption at all. If this is the case, doesn't it mean that he can refine chakra without limit as long as he just sits like this? Every few minutes. 1 hour is worth the past few months of cultivation. It seems that it is not difficult to meet genin standards. With eyes closed, Shiyu carefully felt the flow of chakra in his body, under the control of the passive skill bar. 5 minutes passed and another touch of chakra was added. Shiyu still didn't make any movements, just kept it like this, sitting on the bed with his eyes closed. Half an hour passed in a blink of an eye. The passive skill bar allowed Shiyu to complete 6 chakra refinements. And now Shiyu slowly opened his eyes. Ecstatic. Shiyu can refine chakra 3 times a day, and in this half an hour, he has refined it 6 times. There is still no feeling of tiredness, as if nothing has been done. But the problem is that the amount of chakra is enhanced. The chakra fluctuation in the body is obviously stronger than before. If you just sit like this for 1 night, I'm afraid it will reach genin's chakra standard. There is absolutely nothing wrong with expanding the chakra in the body. Wait, don't worry. I have been here for more than 10 years, and it is not so short of time. Now Shiyu still has 6 skill bars, so I have to pick a few more skills and throw them in. Shiyu looked at these skills of his own, and he didn't care about eating, drinking, and slacking. Of course, he had to pick useful skills such as ninjutsu and throw them in. However, when Shiyu checked his own skills, Shiyu didn't know how to choose for a while, but saw that among the optional skills, the first skill was still chakra refining technique. Can I continue to install the same skills? With the mentality of giving it a try, Shiyu threw another chakra refining technique into passive skill column 2. Passive skill 2 installed successfully. Current passive skill 2, chakra refining technique. Running. It's really possible. Passive skills 1 and 2 completed once. In the next second, 2 traces of chakra appeared at the same time. Double effect? Installing 2 passive skills of chakra refining technique directly obtained double the effect of cultivation. There was a light in Shiyu's eyes. Almost couldn't help screaming, but I held back. There are still 5 empty passive skill bars. If you install chakra refining technique on all of them, it is 7 times the effect directly, and it runs once every 5 minutes, and it is also the chakra refinement of Shiyu's most perfect state. Even Sasuke, who is known as a genius, or Naruto, who has inherited the tyrannical physique of the Uzumaki family, cannot reach this chakra refining speed. Shiyu's chakra refinement is basically no consumption, no fatigue, no decline in state. Every refinement can achieve the effect of the most perfect chakra refinement ever done. Install chakra refinement on all. With a wave of Shiyu's hand, all 5 vacant passive skill bars were installed with the chakra refining technique. The most perfect state refining effect, times 7. Episode 3. Update skill status. Passive skills 1, 2, 3, 7 completed once. Shiyu woke up suddenly in the morning. Looking at the familiar room, he was still lying on his own bed. When did you fall asleep? How about chakra refining? Call out the system directly with your mind. Looking at the skill bar that was still there, Shiyu breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, Shiyu was so excited that he wanted to sit there all night without sleeping, for fear that chakra would stop refining as soon as he fell asleep, or the system simply disappears. But don't worry now, it's not a dream, the system has not disappeared and is still there. By the way, how about chakra refining? Passive skills 1, 2, 3, 7 completed once. A surge of chakra suddenly intensified, erupted in Shiyu's body. Shiyu was stunned for a moment. Feeling the amazing chakra flow in the body, compared to before, it has more than doubled. Now Shiyu's chakra amount has fully met Genin's requirement. Not only met Genin's requirements, but also exceeded Genin's requirements. At this moment, it should be regarded as having reached the midterm level of Genin. The amount of chakra has been fully doubled, and it is also chakra extracted from Shiyu's most perfect state. In terms of quality, it is also far superior to the chakra that Shiyu refined and accumulated before. I just slept like this for one night, and the amount of chakra has more than doubled, and the quality is so amazing. Look at the 2 words passive displayed on the skill bar. Passive skill, I don't need to control it at all. It will work no matter what I do. So whether I'm walking, running, or sleeping, it doesn't affect chakra refining. If that's the case, then this system is simply amazing. Even if there are no mall modules, task modules, reward modules, these are all fine. These few skill bars are completely enough. And the key point is that there are no restrictions. You can put any skills into it, and it can always ignore Shiyu and run autonomously. In this way, even eating and drinking water will become stronger. Even if you never know what those 3 active skills are, it feels like having these passive skill bars is enough. It's a pity that there are a little less passive skill slots. If there are 100, 1,000 will be great. Thinking of this, Shiyu felt a little greedy. It's nice to have a system. Suddenly there was a warm current in the body, and the amount of chakra increased again. Complete a chakra refinement in 5 minutes, and add 7 chakra each time. There are 40 minutes a day, and the number of times I refine chakra by relying on these 7 skill bars is 2016 times a day. Complete more than 2,000 chakra refinements in one day. This, even a perverted monster with a system like Naruto, will never be able to do it. More than 2,000 chakra refinements. Calculated according to Shiyu's own refinement 3 times a day, it took nearly 2 years for Shiyu to complete the number of times. And not every refinement of chakra can be carried out in the most perfect state. Cuckoo, let's eat something first. Although very excited, but not too hungry, Shiyu randomly found something in the refrigerator to eat. After filling his stomach, Shiyu glanced at the date. Today is Saturday, and you don't have to go to school when the school is on holiday. Just take these 2 days to see how much chakra I can increase. The passive skills don't require Shiyu to control at all, and they don't even interfere with Shiyu's own chakra operation. Just keep adding chakra out of thin air. Shiyu sat for an hour, feeling a little idle. Let me refine chakra myself. Anyway, idle is idle, although I can only refine 3 times a day. But no matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat. Go back to the room, close your eyes, and sit on the bed. Shiyu started refining chakra by himself. And this time refining chakra, Shiyu felt unprecedented ease. Guides the fusion of physical energy and spiritual energy in the body, from which chakra is extracted. The refining process Shiyu has long been familiar with. There is no difficulty at all. A chakra refinement is successfully completed. At the same time, he opened his eyes and glanced at the clock hanging on the wall. Compared with the passive skill column, it took Shiyu nearly 30 minutes to complete a chakra refinement. This is not the same level at all. Detecting that the host has completed a skill release beyond the fixed skill quality, whether to update the skill status. Beyond the fixed skill quality? Does this mean that I have completed a more perfect chakra refinement? It is true that the refining of chakra just now seems to have been completed very well. Renew? Shiyu spoke tentatively. Skill status update completed. All chakra refinements in the 7 skill bars will be updated in the next second. 5 minutes later, chakra was added again, making Shiyu even more surprised. More than ever, the same 7 silk chakra, but the amount is obviously about 1/3 more than before. Is this the effect of updating the skill status just now? The chakra refining techniques fixed on the passive skill bar are all performed with one's most perfect chakra refining. Then I have completed a chakra refinement that is even better than before. So I naturally use the current one as the standard, and I only need to complete it once. It will be recorded by the system, and then directly copied and pasted into the fixed skill column. Let every passive operation run in this state. There is also the function of updating skills, which is really great. As Shiyu grows physically and mentally, the quality of chakra will naturally increase gradually. If it is still the previous standard, then the fixed chakra refining technique, the refined chakra will gradually become ineffective. It seems that I have nothing to do at all. The system is responsible for running the skills, and the system itself is responsible for updating the status of the skills. Wait a minute. After Shiyu's excitement passed, he suddenly noticed something. That is, I just completed a chakra refinement. Why didn't I feel tired at all? This is the chakra refinement done by myself. Logically speaking, now I should feel physically exhausted and mentally unwell. Why do you feel as if you are still full of energy? Could it be that refining chakra by yourself is also free of consumption? Episode 4. Stuck on a bug. Shiyu is a little uncertain, perhaps because of his chakra enhancement. So it leads to an increase in your physical or mental energy. So now you don't feel much when you refine chakra for the first time. So Shiyu performed the second chakra refinement again. This time it took the same half an hour to complete a chakra refinement. However, after the refinement was completed this time, the system did not prompt, which means that the refinement of chakra this time did not surpass the previous quality. But it doesn't matter. The important thing is that Shiyu still doesn't feel anything. It's really no consumption. Once was an accident, but twice, there is no accident. Shiyu got even more excited. Unleash skills without consumption? If it's just chakra refining, maybe it doesn't matter. But if it's another ninjutsu, of course, this must have something to do with the skill bar, and there can be no other reasons other than this. Shiyu glanced at the skill bar, and installed the chakra refining technique himself, and he could refine chakra without consumption. Then put on other ninjutsu. Randomly install a clone technique on it. Passive skill 7, clone technique, still retains the passive of the 6 chakra refining techniques. Shiyu quickly jumped out of bed and began to seal and release the clone technique. This time, however, it was different. Along with a white smoke, a clone appeared. But this time, Shiyu could clearly feel that the release of clone technique consumed chakra. Isn't it free of consumption? Could it be that only the chakra refining technique can consume nothing? If this is the case, then I will be happy for nothing. Casually released the clone, Shiyu was a little frustrated. Sitting on the bed, feeling the 6 strands of chakra increasing again in the body, Shiyu felt something was wrong again. They are all skills. Why chakra refining can be consumed without consumption, but clone technique can't? Could the system still be able to identify the type of skill? Look at your skill bar. 6 refining techniques, 1 clone technique. Quantity. The difference lies in the quantity. Could it be that the clone technique is not all installed? Shiyu frowned. Try another one. Passive skill 6, clone technique. Running. Passive skill 6 and 7 complete a run. Shiyu was about to try again to unleash the clone technique, but suddenly it felt like there was a little more. But it seems that I can't say it. What is the use of the clone technique to complete a run? Shiyu shook his head and tried to release the clone technique first. However, when he released the clone technique this time, Shiyu was stunned for a moment. The seal formation seemed to be very smooth, and he didn't even need to think about it. The body seems to have formed some kind of muscle memory, and the printing speed is also faster. Boom! With the burst of blue light from chakra, the clone appears. And this time looking carefully at the clone in front of him, Shiyu felt that the clone seemed to be more perfect. But now what surprised Shiyu the most? Chakra no less. Sure enough, it's because of the number of passive skills equipped. If you equip 1 clone technique, it will not cost nothing, but if you equip 2, you can. No wonder there is no consumption for chakra refining by yourself. This is a hidden function? It doesn't feel like it. No matter how you look at it, it looks more like a bug in the system. If the system is not damaged, you shouldn't let yourself install 2 identical passive skills repeatedly. But now that the system is damaged, it is up to him what skills to install, and 2 of the same passive skills will allow him to get stuck. Unleash the passive skills of equipment without consumption. Of course, the prerequisite is that a skill must be loaded into the 2 skill columns. I have a total of 7 passive skill bars. In other words, I can card 3 non-consumable passive skills at the same time. Suddenly Shiyu's eyes lit up. Who said that there must only be 3 skills without consumption? When you need to use some skills, you can just put the skills into the 2 skill bars at the same time, wouldn't it be good? Thinking of this, Shiyu called out the system again, preparing to replace the transformation technique with the clone technique. Reminder, it takes 60 seconds to change passive skills. Current remaining waiting time, 34 seconds. Well, seeing this hint, Shiyu sighed. It seems that this idea has come to nothing. The waiting time for changing passive skills is 1 minute, although this minute is not too long. But in battle, it seems impossible to constantly change skills, to get stuck in a state of no consumption. In a real battle, every second counts, 1 minute. Even Nagato's 5-second cooldown of Shenluo Tianjing can't stand it, let alone a minute of himself. But it doesn't matter, if you are really facing a fierce battle, you can card 3 non-consumable skills in advance, and leave a skill bar for chakra refining. Chakra refining can not only increase chakra, but also restore chakra. If it is in a state of full chakra, if you increase chakra, you may only be able to extract a trace of chakra once you refine it. However, if chakra is already consumed, refining chakra once can restore more than half of chakra. And I leave a skill bar to equip chakra refinement, and complete a refinement in 5 minutes, which is equivalent to having the skill of passive mana recovery, and more than half of it will recover in 5 minutes. For the current Shiyu, at Genin's midterm level, more than half of the chakra is nothing, but the more chakra goes on, the more chakra he has. The amount of recovered chakra is quite huge, and if you can learn fairy art, then replace it with fairy art refining, then you can absorb natural energy and condense fairy art chakra all the time. It is equivalent to realizing the skill of refining the magic chakra in the battle that Naruto wanted to develop. Even if the immortal body without Hashirama's pervert can automatically absorb the immortal chakra for recovery, the same effect can be achieved by relying on the passive skill bar. And in any case, Hashirama's automatic absorption of natural energy is definitely not as much as active refining of Xianshu chakra. My passive skill bar can turn the effect of actively absorbing natural energy into a passive. In this way, his skill bar is even more powerful. Shiyu looked up out of the window. The open hand slowly clenched. Mediocre? No, no, no. From now on, the entire ninja world will be shaken because of me. Episode 5. Effects of different skills. Shake the entire ninja world. This is a matter for the future, and I will continue to study my skill bar for now. Just now, Shiyu felt that after running the clone technique once, his Naruto seemed to become smoother, and even his body seemed to have muscle memory. And the released avatar is also more perfect. The avatar is not a shadow clone, but a deceptive means to assist ninjas in their attacks. At the same time, the avatar is also easy to see through. Even ninjas without pupil skills can easily see through clone technique. The specific reason is to find the difference. The avatar is not a shadow clone, and it is not a chakra that changes according to the body, but an imagination of the caster. In other words, if you are injured and you cast clone technique but during the casting process, you did not add the element of your injury, and the clone you transformed is also an intact you. This makes it easy for the enemy to find the flaw and thus see through the clone technique. Looking at the perfect clone in front of him, Shiyu seems to understand the effect of performing ninjutsu such as clone technique. That is the role of increasing one's own ninjutsu experience in disguise and upgrading one's own ninjutsu. At the same time, there are other additional effects. For example, the speed of seal formation. Transformation technique requires seal formation, although not all seals are used, but these few seals of clone technique will be performed very quickly. So now it seems that the chakra refining technique can continuously increase the amount of chakra. The importance of the amount of chakra as a ninja is beyond doubt, but a ninja cannot only have a huge amount of chakra. Otherwise, it is like Naruto in the early stage, who has a terrifying chakra, but can only rely on a few thousand shadow clone to bluff people. When you meet a real master, these thousands of shadow clone will not be able to scare others. As for auxiliary ninjutsu such as clone technique, putting it in the skill column can not only continuously upgrade this ninjutsu, it can also increase the printing speed. The operation of passive skills is equivalent to the cultivation of one's own body, and it is practiced in the most perfect state every time. It is normal for the clone technique to become stronger. In the same way, if a ninjutsu with direct attack ability is put into the skill bar, the power of this ninjutsu can be continuously enhanced under the operation of the system. In terms of attack methods, the skill bar is also useful, so I can feel at ease in this way. The 3 elements of ninja, chakra, ninjutsu, and taijutsu. With a huge chakra and powerful ninjutsu, if you can't get close to him and kill him instantly, wouldn't you become a crispy mage? This must not work. Shiyu looks at the skills that can be put in. School-level gymnastics. This should be the taijutsu I learned in the ninja school. If you put in physical skills, you should be able to continuously enhance your physical skills. Running the passive skill bar once is equivalent to practicing once, So the effect of putting in school-level physical skills should not only enhance one's own physical skills. Passive skill 7, school-level physical skills. Passive skill 1 to 6, chakra refining, running. However, just put physical skills into the passive skill column. In just a dozen seconds, the system prompt appeared. Passive skill 7 completes a run. Immediately afterwards, Shiyu felt as if his body cells were suddenly on fire. But this feeling was fleeting. What caused this feeling, Shiyu couldn't understand more clearly. Isn't that the feeling that only appears when the body breaks through the limit and continues to persevere when it is practiced by itself? And every time this feeling occurs, it means that one's strength has increased a little. At the same time, the body will become stronger, and the physique, speed, and strength will all be increased in all directions. However, compared to practicing chakra, practicing physical skills is more difficult. Shiyu seems to have a relatively good talent in taijutsu, and his taijutsu ranks at the middle level of the ninja school. Of course, it may also be because the limit of chakra's practice is too easy to reach, and Shiyu can only focus on physical skills in the extra time. But even if Shiyu persisted, he still couldn't reach the level of pervert like Shaoli. It can be seen that although Shaoli has no talent in ninjutsu, his talent in physical skills is definitely at the pervert level. But now there is a passive skill bar, breaking through the physical limit every 10 seconds, although it increases a little each time. But I am making breakthroughs all the time, so if I continue to improve like this, it will not be difficult at all to reach Shaoli's level. And with the enhancement of physical fitness, the energy of the body will definitely be enhanced, which is beyond doubt. It's just a question of how much to increase. The physique of a gifted person is enhanced, and the energy of the body increases sharply, but he may only increase a little bit. But with the existence of the passive skill bar, a little bit can be infinitely enlarged. As long as you live long enough, it is not impossible to become a god even by relying on your physical body. Taijutsu can enhance physical fitness, strength, and speed, thereby increasing the energy of the body. So if you want chakra refining, the effect will be better. I still need to increase my spiritual energy. What should be used to increase mental energy? Illusion? The only method Shiyu can think of is illusion, but I don't know illusions. There is a way to dispel the illusion. When you go to school on Monday, maybe ask your teacher if you can teach yourself a simple trick. Or go to the uncles of the same clan in the Uiguang family for help. Shiyu does not require any advanced illusion, just a simple illusion. I just want to see if I can rely on illusion to increase my mental energy. Well, it's not too late, let's go now. Shiyu couldn't wait anymore. Today, Saturday, those members of the Moonlight clan may have uncles who are resting at home on vacation. Simply tidy up and prepare to go out. And the skill Shiyu in the skill bar has also decided to configure it like this now. 6 chakra refining techniques are passive, and 1 body technique is passive. Strengthening chakra is Shiyu's main task now, and at the same time, his physique must also catch up. As for other ninjutsu, Shiyu doesn't know it either. The only ninjutsu I know, water style, is not in a hurry now. Let's get the illusion first. The place where Shiyu lived was not far from the members of the Moonlight clan. A small Konoha family like the Moonlight clan does not have their own clan land, but the residences of family members are usually connected together and not too far apart. Shiyu originally planned to go to the house of Uncle Chunin, another Moonlight clan. After all, he takes good care of himself. But when passing by the door of another fellow clansman, just as the door opened, there was someone inside. The other party stopped Shiyu. Shiyu, what are you going to do? Episode 6. Shippuden's true protagonist. Shiyu froze for a moment, the family in front of him. The residence is Moonlight Gale, and now it is considered the best clan member of the Moonlight clan in Konoha. However, it is just a jonin, a special jonin. Shiyu, are you looking for Uncle Masano? Moonlight Gale, who was eating breakfast with a plate in the living room, looked at Shiyu outside the door. Uncle Jingye is on a mission today. What do you want him for? Is there a mission? I don't know if the Moonlight Gale in front of me will be willing to teach himself a simple illusion. Will he know the illusion? In particular, although Jonin has not fully reached the level of Jonin, but he can't even do a simple illusion. Shiyu looked at the moonlight blast in front of him. Brother Haifeng, I want to find Uncle Jingye and ask him to teach me a simple illusion. I'm about to graduate and become a genin. I don't even know a single illusion. I want to learn an illusion to better understand illusions, so that I won't be helpless when encountering enemies of Grandmaster illusions in the future. Graduate? Haifeng froze for a moment. So fast? It is also true that it is the graduation season now, and Shiyu's age is indeed the age of graduation. Moonlight Gale put down the breakfast in his hand, and then thought about it. He is not very familiar with Shiyu, his cousin, but he remembers that his parents seem to have died because of the Nine Tails Rebellion. Uncle Masano and the others have been taking care of Shiyu all these years. However, this kid's ninja talent is not very good. Whether he can successfully graduate from the ninja school is a problem. Come in. Yes. Shiyu took off his shoes and walked in. Afterwards, sitting across from Haifeng, Yuiguang Haifeng asked casually, "Have you had breakfast?" "Have eaten." Gaifeng looked Shiyu up and down. Compared with the few times we met before, Shiyu seems to be more energetic now, and he is much more confident. Although the change is not too big, it is not small. Self-confidence is a matter of course, It would be strange if you have a system and are not competent. Yes, it seems that the days of studying at the ninja school have made you much more energetic. Facing Moonlight Gale's approval, Shiyu didn't feel much. Originally, Shiyu looked very handsome, but now with a little more confidence, he looks more sunny and energetic. White Fang also admired secretly, this kid is probably the most perfect in appearance in the family. Smiled, let me see your chakra. The cultivation of Gen and chakra can't be too bad if you want to graduate. If Moonlight Shiyu remembers well, with Shiyu's talent, the current amount of chakra may not be able to reach the level of a smooth graduation. Yes, Shiyu closed his eyes and started to release chakra. This simple release of chakra is nothing more than allowing the chakra flowing in the body to flow outside the body. Boom! The breeze kicked up by Shiyu's chakra eruption blows towards the blast. Moonlight Gale was taken aback for a moment. This amount of chakra has far exceeded Genin's level, and even reached the level of Genin's midterm. It is very good to have this kind of chakra before graduation. In terms of talent, it can be regarded as outstanding among the clansmen who have become ninjas. Did I miss it before? Shiyu also noticed a hint of surprise in Yuiguang Gale's eyes, but the other party didn't show too much shock, and Shiyu didn't feel anything wrong. After all, his current chakra volume is only at the midterm level of Genin. Nothing for a true genius. Even for a guy like Sasuke who lacks chakra, the amount of chakra has already reached the peak level of Genin. If you want to continue to grow chakra, you don't just rely on practice, you also need to strengthen exercise. The most important thing is fighting, as well as physical growth and development. And Shiyu is not in a hurry. As long as he is given time, he can rely on the skill bar to grow passively without limit. It is only a matter of time before Sasuke or even Naruto is surpassed. I didn't expect that your talent is not bad. You have already surpassed the average Genin in chakra volume before graduation. With a ninja like you in my family, I will feel a lot easier. Moonlight Gale smiled. Although the Moonlight clan is only a small family, if they want to gain a foothold in Konoha, the small family also needs to have younger generations to grow up. Do you want to be a phantom ninja? Hearing this, Shiyu nodded. I don't want to be an illusion ninja. I just want to learn 1 or 2 simple illusions. That's it. Moonlight Gale thought for a while, then nodded. Shiyu's idea was not wrong. Learn about illusion and better understand how to deal with illusion ninjas. But I don't know how to use illusion. Alright. Moonlight Gale really doesn't know how to use illusion, which gave Shiyu a headache. Who should I go to now? However, if you really want to learn a few simple illusions, I can help you get some simple illusion scrolls back, and you can take a look when the time comes. This seems to be good too. Shiyu got up quickly, then thank you, brother White Fang. Hearing this, White Fang waved his hand. It's nothing. By the way, do you know swordsmanship? Fencing? Facing the question of Hayate, Shiyu froze for a moment. What does this mean? Shaking his head, no. Interested? Of course there is interest. Shiyu nodded quickly. Okay, let's go to Konoha's training ground after I finish my breakfast. I'll teach you the basics of swordsmanship first. If you are talented in swordsmanship, I can pass on the Konoha-style swordsmanship that I am good at. Moonlight Gale's Konoha-ryu swordsmanship? It's the dance of the crescent moon. It doesn't seem to be too powerful, but Shiyu is very interested in swordsmanship. Good. Moonlight Gale then began to eat breakfast in 2s and 3s. Then came to Konoha's training ground with Shiyu. Hailstorm? It's rare to have a rest today and come to train so early. Acquaintances are greeting blast. White Fang nodded and pointed to Shiyu behind him. I'll teach my brother how to use swordsmanship. Brother? Do you have a younger brother, White Fang? Clan brother. Oh. That's it. You are a very energetic little guy. He looks good. There are many little girlfriends in the school. Forehead. Shiyu smiled awkwardly. Although he looks good, but he really doesn't have puppy love. Puppy love is bad, but the relationship with the female characters is pretty good. Okay, go do your work. I'm going to teach my brother swordsmanship. Episode 7. Very active skills. Chasing the acquaintance away, White Fang looked at Shiyu. Okay, let's get started. As he spoke, he threw a wooden sword to Shiyu. Let me teach you the most basic sword skills first. White Fang looked at Shiyu who was holding the wooden sword. You follow my movements? Yeah. Shiyu nodded. There is nothing to say about basic swordsmanship, and it is nothing more than stabbing, chopping, pointing, teasing, picking, collapsing, cutting, chopping, and parrying. These basics seem to be obvious at a glance, but it is not that simple to know when you really get started. The simplest stab, the coordination between the wrist and palm, and the arms, is not so easy to control. The tip of the sword should always be facing a point in front, keeping the direction from being deviated greatly. The various joints of the arm must cooperate not only to maintain good coordination of the body. Although it is not difficult to master, many things can often be seen through simple movements. Watching Shiyu who is clumsy and learning from himself, sure enough, there is no foundation at all. The level of these simple movements for the first time is not up to the standard of Gale. In more professional terms, this kid's talent in swordsmanship is too bad. He sighed silently. Sure enough, how could a small family like the Moonlight clan have such a talented kid? Judging from Shiyu's talent, even if he is given a year, it is not bad to be able to lay the foundation, let alone practice his Konoha swordsmanship. That's basically the Living Years series. While practicing these movements, Shiyu was also paying attention to Moonlight Gale's reaction. Looking at the other party and sighing, Shiyu also understood. His talent in swordsmanship is probably average, but it doesn't matter, as long as you master the basic swordsmanship, and then hang it on the passive skill bar. The swordsmanship will immediately improve by leaps and bounds. But the problem is that I have to master this basic swordsmanship first, and transform it into a skill. Thinking of this, Shiyu is also very helpless. There is nothing he can do if he is not talented. Detection. Host is learning new skills. Active skill 3. Daxian starting. Active skills activated? Haven't these 3 active skills been damaged? Still able to start? Active skill 3. Daxian applying for activation skill. Whether host is enabled. What kind of active skill is this? And you still apply for activation by yourself. It really is active enough, but I can't see anything with this skill. Only the word Daxian can be seen, and everything else is garbled. What is the effect of this active skill? Never mind, since it wants to start, let's start it and try it out. Open. Activate active skill 3, Daxian. Warning, this skill is damaged due to unknown reasons, and only has 30% of the original skill's effect. The system is speeding up the repair. Hehe. 30% effect? Sure enough, you can't have too much hope. The activation is activated, but the effect of this skill is only 30%. What else can it do? Analyzing new skills. Analyzing. 10%, 20%, 50%, 99%. The analysis is complete. Congratulations to host for acquiring a new skill. Basic swordsmanship. Huh? Shiyu was dumbfounded. In such a second, what happened? New skill? This active skill 3 is to help you learn? Suddenly, Shiyu felt as if there were a lot of basic sword skills in his mind, and at the same time, his body seemed to move involuntarily. Gaifeng sighed. Based on his current talent, this kid will be chunin at most in the future. Forget it, his parents' talent is only average, and it's normal for him to have no talent. As he was thinking about it, he suddenly saw Shiyu waving the wooden sword in his hand and stabbing lightly. This stab, because Moonlight Gale was standing right in front of Shiyu. From his perspective, he could only see the tip of the wooden sword attacking straight in his direction. At that moment, the wind seemed to only see Shiyu's wooden sword, and everything else seemed to be covered. Shiyu's hand holding the sword is completely different from before. Stable, very steady, terrifyingly steady. Although it was just basic swordsmanship, in Shiyu's hands, each move was very fast, and at the same time, the body did not shake at all. The chopping with the wooden sword actually brought out the sword wind faintly. If it was an iron sword, then it should have already made a sword sound by this moment. Gale froze in place. Is this kid really just practicing swordsmanship for the second time? When I learned by myself before, I didn't understand anything, and I was a newbie who couldn't be a newbie. Why is it only a few seconds? It seems to have completely mastered the movements of basic swordsmanship. Even mastered too perfectly. Anyway, he can't find any faults at all. Is this kid a born swordsman? This kind of terrifying talent for swordsmanship is probably only possessed by Konoha's White Fang back then. Thinking of this, Gale suddenly smiled. Is the Moonlight clan finally about to rise? Ha 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 ha. Good. Suddenly, Gaifeng roared and came directly in front of Shiyu, grabbing Shiyu's shoulders tightly with both hands. Shiyu, you were born for the sword. Shiyu, who was still in a daze, was dumbfounded. Why is Moonlight Gale so crazy? Didn't I just master the basic swordsmanship? Why does he seem to be superb? You have only seen it once, and you were able to master the basic sword skills better than me. Shiyu, you have such a talent. It is not certain that my Moonlight clan will rise because of you. Clam? Is the basic swordsmanship that I just mastered so good? Shiyu didn't feel much, but felt that he knew all these movements. And the body even has muscle memory. Every move seems as simple as eating and drinking. Is this the effect of active skill 3, Daxian? Shiyu herself couldn't help being excited now. This is only 30% of the effect. If it is 100%, what kind of effect will it be? With this active skill, even if it only has 30% effect, I can become a so-called genius. No, it should be a monster more terrifying than a genius. Shiyu, now I will teach you Konoha swordsmanship. Hearing this, Shiyu was stunned for a moment. He was a little worried. Could active skill 3 still be activated this time? This skill is still in a damaged state, and the Moonlight Blast has already begun. Look carefully, Konoha-style swordsmanship. There are not many moves, a total of 10 moves. But if you use them skillfully, your close combat ability will be greatly enhanced. Detection. Host is learning new skills. Active skill 3. Daxian applying for activation. Shiyu's eyes flashed suddenly. This wave is stable. Episode 8. You will be the second Konoha's White Fang. Konoha-style swordsmanship does not include Moonlight Gale's Dance of the Three Suns and Moon, which should be regarded as the nirvana of Konoha-style swordsmanship. Requires use with Shadow Clone. Shiyu is a kid who has not yet graduated. Moonlight Gale will not consider teaching Shiyu Shadow Clone technique. The Shadow Clone technique is a dangerous ninjutsu, and if you are not careful, you will be injured. However, the 10 styles of Konoha swordsmanship can be taught to Shiyu. At the same time, White Fang is also to test Shiyu's talent in swordsmanship and confirm it again. If Shiyu can quickly learn Konoha swordsmanship, even just getting started will be enough to prove that he is indeed a swordsmanship genius. 10 styles are not too many, although Moonlight Gale is for teaching. The movements are deliberately slowed down, and the changes of each move are explained in detail. It took a total of 10 minutes. White Fang turned his head to look at Shiyu. "You come and try." Hearing this, Shiyu had a smile on his face. Smile with confidence. Because at the moment when Moonlight Gale demonstrated the last form, the system beep sounded. Analysis completed. Congratulations to host for acquiring a new skill, Konoha swordsmanship. Almost at the same time, everything about Konoha swordsmanship reappeared in Shiyu's mind. It's as if it was born naturally, and every change in the style is imprinted in Shiyu's mind like a knife and axe. The body also seems to have mastered Konoha swordsmanship long ago. Hands up. With the first sword, Shiyu directly stunned Moonlight Gale. Looking at that incomparably slashing sword, the power was even 3 points stronger than him. Perfect. Very perfect. Just the first move made Moonlight Gale completely dumbfounded. Konoha-style swordsmanship, among all the ninjas in Konoha, there are not many people who inherit it. There are not many at all, and at the same time, everyone who has learned Konoha has records, and there is no possibility of leakage. With Shiyu's conditions, there is absolutely no other opportunity to get in touch with Konoha-style swordsmanship. And now, dancing the wooden sword in front of his eyes, he performed the Konoha-style swordsmanship one by one, and every pose seems to be a more perfect Shiyu than myself. It's like a swordsman who has practiced Konoha-style swordsmanship for more than 10 years, even more powerful than himself, a ninja of grandmaster swordsmanship. Such a talent for swordsmanship. There is absolutely no second. Perhaps even more scary than Konoha's White Fang ever was. Swish. The wind driven by the wooden sword made a whistling sound. The end of the last move almost caused the wooden sword in Galefang's hand to fall off. Shiyu looked back at Moonlight Gale. "Shiyu, you will be the second Konoha's White Fang. My Moonlight clan is finally about to rise, just like the Hitaki clan. The change that one Konoha's White Fang can bring is simply too big for a family, a small family." Shiyu, who was waiting for Moonlight Galewin's evaluation, was also a little surprised. Second Konoha's White Fang? Shiyu smiled. He who has been mediocre for 12 years is finally showing his edge now. But Moonlight Gale's words reminded Shiyu. There was nothing noteworthy about him before, so there is no need to think too much about it. But now it is different. Konoha is not so calm on the surface. She is just a baby bird now. The performance is too amazing. I'm afraid I can't wait for the day when I grow into an eagle. So it's good to show an amazing talent in swordsmanship. As for other talents, maybe you can hide it a little bit. Konoha has Danzo and third generation. Danzo is an outright extremist. The little ninja, whose strength is still insufficient, can only be manipulated at will. And third generation is also not easy to mess with, although it is much better than Danzo. But if it is beyond the control of the third generation, I am afraid that the third generation will not be at ease. It seemed fitting to be Konoha's second White Fang. Thinking of this, Shiyu looked at the very excited Moonlight Gale, and he also showed an extremely happy smile. Really? Brother Galewind? Of course it is true. Moonlight Shiyu replied to Shiyu with certainty. Your talent in swordsmanship absolutely surpasses all the ninjas in Konoha today. Don't call me Big Brother Blast from now on, just call me Big Brother. Shiyu nodded. Yeah. Brother. Hearing his elder brother's address, Moonlight Gale nodded in satisfaction. This matter has to be reported to the third generation. A genius like Shiyu has appeared in my Moonlight clan. He cannot be buried. Shiyu, Konoha swordsmanship has stronger moves, but I can't teach you now. You still need more training. I'll teach you after you graduate from ninja school. The more powerful move should be the dance of the crescent moon. Shiyu didn't care too much about that trick either, because it seems to be very weak. I know, brother. Okay. Moonlight Gale saw that Shiyu didn't show any impatience, and his temper was also very good. Do you want to continue practicing? If you continue to practice, I will accompany you. Continue? It is possible to continue, but now Shiyu wants to go back and study active skill 3 even more. Shiyu raised his hand and touched his head. Don't worry, brother. I will work hard to practice swordsmanship, but today I have an appointment with a classmate. Hearing that Gale was not displeased at all, but nodded. Well. It is also very important to get along well with classmates. Go. I happen to have something to do, but your swordsmanship must not be left behind. When you graduate, I'll give you another ninja sword. Among the genin who match your sword skills at the same time, I'm afraid there are not many people who can win against you. Moonlight Shiyu originally wanted to say that with Shiyu's Konoha swordsmanship just now, genin is definitely a top existence. But, if so, he was afraid that Shiyu would be too proud and ignore the other ninjas. This worry is completely unnecessary. Okay, let's go find your classmates. Shiyu nodded and looked at the wooden sword in his hand. Keep the wooden sword, spend more time practicing swordsmanship. I see, Shiyu said, holding the wooden sword behind his hand. Then brother, I will take my leave first. Seeing Shiyu's disappearing figure, Moonlight Shiyu turned his head and went straight to the Hokage building. The Moonlight clan has a swordsman genius, and that's a great opportunity to get Hokage's attention. At the same time, letting third generation know can also help Shiyu get more support from Konoha in swordsmanship, which is a win-win situation for Shiyu and the family. Episode 9. Powerful active skills. Go home. Shiyu gasped heavily. He ran back from the training ground just now and ran at full speed in one breath. The speed has accelerated a lot. If you go to take the school's comprehensive test at the current speed, the speed score will definitely increase by 1/3 compared to before. And this is just the effect of Shiyu hanging physical skills on the skill bar for less than a morning. The physique that is being strengthened all the time, although it is only a little each time, every 10 seconds. A drop of water can wear through a stone. Shiyu can clearly feel the changes in his physique. There is no need to say more about the magic of the passive skill bar, but now Shiyu is concerned about active skill 3. It's almost noon. Shiyu just ran around quickly, and now he feels a little hungry. I dug out some things in the refrigerator and made a simple lunch. As Shiyu, who has basically lived alone since the age of 3 or 4, not to mention being a time traveler, cooking and so on is completely out of the question. After eating lunch as quickly as possible, Shiyu packed up and sat cross-legged in the living room. Close your eyes and call out the system interface directly. The first thing you see is the passive skill bar, but Shiyu skipped the passive skill bar this time. Stare at the 3 skills in the active skill bar. Shiyu didn't care about the first 2 skills for the time being. Instead, he focused on the last skill. Active skill 3, Daxian. This skill is simply a divine skill. It can help him quickly master swordsmanship, but this ability has already excited Shiyu. And now Shiyu also wants to try it to see if it has other functions. But how to try? Shiyu didn't know what to do for a while. Calm down, don't get excited. Now think about how to test all the functions of this skill. Active skill 3, Daxian. Application dialogue. Clam, can this skill still talk? Is this still a skill? It's almost time to catch up with artificial intelligence. However, when this skill was learning swordsmanship just now, it took the initiative to apply to activate it, which is indeed very similar to artificial intelligence. Agree, Daxian, this skill is currently in a damaged state and is urging the system to repair it. At present, only the analysis function is left to be used, and some of the analysis functions are damaged and cannot be activated. Forced activation may cause this skill to completely collapse. Is this guy explaining himself? The analysis function is also the function of learning swordsmanship just now. At present, only this is left, that is to say, it can only help you learn quickly. Shiyu frowned. The reason why he came back as fast as he could was because he wanted to try this skill. Can you make your own chakra refining technique stronger? Shiyu is not an idiot either. When he saw the word analysis prompted by the system, he wondered whether this skill could be used to analyze the skills he had already mastered. Daxian, the calculation ability is damaged, unable to fulfill the host's request. Calculation? Can this skill really help me strengthen the skills I have already mastered? And is this function of enhancing skills called calculus? It's quite appropriate, but why is this function broken? Damn it. How nice it would be if it wasn't damaged. According to the effect of the previous analysis of the new skill, the completion of the analysis is a perfect swordsmanship. If the chakra refining technique is calculated, then I am afraid that the chakra refining technique will have to be renamed as the chakra surge technique. Pity. I don't know how long it will take to fix it. Daxian, the repair time is unknown, but as the host becomes stronger, the system repairability can also be increased, which can speed up the repair process. I become stronger and enhance the repairability of the system. That's okay, at least not without a chance to see active skill 3 in its entirety. As long as you become stronger, that's great. I have roughly figured out the ability of active skill 3, so what does active skill 1 and 2 look like? Daxian, the data is lost, and the specific effect of the skill cannot be known. Is there no information? Then come and test it yourself. Daxian, actively activating 2 skills will delay the repair time of this skill and share the repair rate of the system. The final result may cause this skill and other active skills to never be repaired. Is there such a saying? Shiyu froze for a moment. Why did he have a strange feeling? It seems that this active skill 3 is monopolized by one person, and it seems that all the repair rates of the system are concentrated on oneself. Rather than warning himself, this guy is more like playing tricks, trying to make himself recover sooner, so as to prevent himself from activating the other 2 active skills. Daxian, not talking anymore? Is this the default? This active skill function is indeed a bit powerful. It seems that it still has a certain ability to think, but it doesn't seem to be able to lie to itself. So the question just now was not answered. That's okay, if a skill can be thoughtful, then Shiyu should pay attention. Daxian, repairing this skill is currently the most helpful to the host, and after this skill is repaired, it can assist the system in repairing other skills, so repairing this skill is the best choice. Good guy, this skill can also assist the system in repairing. That being said, repairing it is indeed the best option. In the Hokage building, Uiguan Gale waited for more than 10 minutes, and finally waited until the third generation was busy with something and found time to see him. Entering Hokage's office, third generation looked at the ready Moonlight Shiyu and joked, "Look at you, what's the matter?" Did you come to see the old man just after the appointment? Whether it is Jonin or special Jonin, Konoha is the core strength of Konoha, although it is not very close to Moonlight Gale third generation, but at least it's familiar. Such a joke is also easier to bring the relationship between the two closer. White Fang shook his head in embarrassment, then put away his smile, and said to third generation very seriously, Master third generation, I found an unexpected surprise today. I'm here to report on the third generation. Surprise? Third generation smiled. What else can be called a surprise at this time? Leaning on the back of the chair, third generation changed to a more easygoing posture. Say it. I belong to the Moonlight family, Moonlight Shiyu. I found that he has the same potential as Konoha's White Fang. His talent in swordsmanship is unmatched by Konoha nowadays. Just as he was about to close his eyes and meditate for the third generation, he suddenly opened his eyes, looking at Moonlight Gale with that extremely oppressive gaze. What did you say? Episode 10. The only legacy left by parents. Being stared at by Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly with such a gaze. Even the Moonlight Gale, which is especially Jonin, suddenly feels pressure doubled. The body seemed to freeze for a moment. As expected of Mr. Shinobi third generation, although he is getting older, his serious eyes are still terrifying. Swallowing silently, Moonlight Gale stared at third generation and spoke again. Today, I taught a clansman how to practice swordsmanship, but unexpectedly discovered his amazing talent in swordsmanship. He watched it once, and after only practicing it twice, he has practiced the basic sword skills extremely solidly. Even after I taught him Konoha Ryu swordsmanship, he just saw it once, and he used it even more perfectly than me. Third generation looked at Moonlight Hayate looking directly at him. Although there was a hint of timidity in the other party's eyes, there was a look of anticipation and excitement in his expression. Not lying, but if it is really as White Fang said, then this is indeed a surprise. Said by Moonlight Gale, to be comparable to White Fang's talent. That's no ordinary genius. Konoha Ryu swordsmanship, is it really better than you after just reading it once? Third generation couldn't believe it. He knew who Moonlight Gale was. Among the ninjas who inherited Konoha-style swordsmanship, he is the most outstanding one. Although chakra and physique are much worse, but swordsmanship is still good. Otherwise, it is impossible to be promoted to special Jonin. But Moonlight Gale said that the other party learned Konoha Ryu swordsmanship for the first time, and he used it more perfectly than him. Is this possible? Who is this guy? Moonlight Shiyu, my cousin, is currently studying at the ninja school, and they will graduate in just over a month. Imp from ninja school? A kid with such talent in the way of swordsmanship was discovered only now? Thinking about it in a blink of an eye, there seems to be nothing wrong with third generation. The Moonlight clan is just a small family after all, so it's normal for a child of such a small family to not be noticed. Furthermore, swordsmanship is not something taught in ninja schools. The little devils have no access to these things, and it is not surprising that their talent in swordsmanship has not been discovered. If Hokage-sama doesn't believe it, I can ask Shiyu to come over immediately and demonstrate it to third generation Sama in person. Moonlight Gale was afraid that the third generation would not believe in him, and third generation waved his hand. No. I believe in you. Hearing the words, Moonlight Gale was very moved. Since it's a good seed, then naturally it can't be buried, but this kid hasn't graduated yet. Wait for him to graduate first. Since he is as talented in swordsmanship as White Fang, then you have to supervise him to practice swordsmanship. The current Konoha needs a lot of fresh blood to be able to regain its vitality. The third generation approved it, and Moonlight Gale had achieved its goal. I can hardly hide my excitement now. Third generation also probably knew what Yuiguan White Fang was thinking. Okay, you go down first. I still have a lot of things to do. Then don't bother Lord Third Generation, said Moonlight Hayate bowed and left Hokage's office. After the other party left, Third Generation showed doubts. Is the talent in swordsmanship really so terrifying? He was not only skeptical, but very skeptical. Maybe it's time to find some time to test it out for yourself, if it's really as good as White Fang said. This kind of kid who is young and easy to cultivate has great potential to become the pillar of Konoha in the future, as well as his loyal supporter. Shiyu, who is still at home, is still asking about active skill 3. What changes can ninjutsu bring to the passive skill bar? Daxian, can't analyze due to lack of information. Please host to try it yourself. It seems that in the end, I have to try it out slowly. Forget about active skill 3. Now that it can help me learn new skills, it is already very, very good. I can't ask for too much. As for the effect of ninjutsu on the skill bar, you can try it yourself and don't have to ask Daxian, star. The idea of putting ninjutsu in the passive skill bar has been in Shiyu's mind for a long time. After all, the main tone of ninja is ninjutsu. What would be the effect of putting ninjutsu in the skill bar? How could Shiyu not want to know? Reallocate the system's passive skill bar. Passive skill 1 to 5, Chakra refining technique. Chakra is indispensable, and Shiyu will definitely not be replaced if he can't be replaced. Passive skill 6, school level physical skills. Physical skills can enhance physical fitness, which is also very important. and it is also essential to reserve a column for physical skills. As for the vacated passive skill 7, Shiyu is going to try to see how effective ninjutsu is. The ninjutsu here does not refer to the non-attribute ninjutsu like 3-body technique. It's an escape technique. At the same time, this is the only legacy that Shiyu's parents left him, besides money and house. Water style, water chaos wave technique. This scroll of water style ninjutsu is the only legacy Shiyu's parents left him. Both of them are just little chunin, and things like ninjutsu scrolls are quite precious things for chunin. It took Shiyu 3 years to successfully master this water style ninjutsu. At the same time, the career is also very fortunate that he is Chakra with the water attribute, and he most likely inherited his father's attribute. It can be seen that it is so difficult for ordinary ninjas to learn a C-level ninjutsu, but it is even more difficult to practice advanced ninjutsu. Passive skill 7, water style, water chaos technique. Successful installation. Alright, now let's see how often it works. Counting the time, 20 seconds passed. Passive skill 7 completed once. Complete once in 20 seconds. This speed is not bad. But what about the effect? Daxian. Detection host is learning new skills. Shurkai analysis is in progress. Analyzing. 2%. Oh? Does this start Shurkai analysis skills? What skills? I didn't do anything. Why did it stop? Continue to analyze? When I analyzed it before, the speed was the same as riding a rocket. Why is it stuck at 2% and not moving? Shiyu was still a little confused. Passive skill 7 completed once. Analyzing. 4%. Water style. The water runs in turbulent waves. Is it still learning new skills? What new skill to learn? Daxian. Analyzing. Alright. Analyze and analyze. It runs once in 20 seconds, and the resolution is increased by 2% at a time, which is only a matter of 10 minutes. Wait, soon 17 or 18 minutes passed. Daxian, analysis completed. Congratulations to host for mastering a new skill, nature transformation water.